it started being, how am I going to make it through this next day? It was almost like, how am I going to make it from day to day? So football became secondary, and making it and surviving all the things going on around us started to be the most important thing, is making it from day to day. And that's what we had to deal with. So the social issues, the Vietnam War, the racism, the injustices going on, you know, people, black folks being hung. We had to deal with that every day. Going to the South, when I started traveling, going to the South and dealing with the racist crowd who looked like they were lynch mobs. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we had to deal with every day. Going and going to a restaurant and they saying, we can't serve you because you're black. I mean, that's what we dealt with every day, and even on the road.
Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. Today, I am with Wilbur Hackett from the University of Kentucky, one of the trailblazers in the entire landscape of college football. Thank you for being with us today, Wilbur.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So I really just want to get started. I want to hear a little bit more about your story.
So where do I start?
Let's start with growing up. Where are you originally from?
Okay, I was born in a little small country town 12 miles east of Lexington called Winchester, Kentucky. Winchester is on the foothills of eastern Kentucky. I went from I attended kindergarten and first grade in Winchester, and then my dad got a job in Louisville. So we moved in 1955. We moved from Winchester to Louisville, but and that's significant because I didn't know, but back then, of course, UK was 12 miles from 12 miles from Winchester, and my parents were actually UK fans back when it wasn't popular, when blacks couldn't even attend games. I mean, when African Americans there were no African Americans in the SEC, and African Americans couldn't even attend the games, but they were still UK fans. So that's significance there. So then I moved to Louisville, and I grew up a University of Louisville fan, and I also grew up in Louisville when, from the elementary school, junior high school to high school, DuPont Manual High School, Joseph S. Carter, Duval Elementary and Junior High. Then I went to DuPont Manual High School, and then I played sports, 3 sports, and had an opportunity to go to UK on a football scholarship. So that's kind of how it all started. I started playing, organized football at the age of 8. I've always been an athlete all my life, and growing up in the projects of Carter Holmes in Louisville, you had to play sports, and you had to be tough. So I all this led up to me, again, playing football and 3 sports in high school, DuPont Manual, and then you get an opportunity to go to the University of Kentucky on a football scholarship. I had other opportunities to go to other schools. Michigan State was my number 1 choice. Indiana was high on the list. I visited Notre Dame, but in the end, what it boiled down to was my parents being that strong UK fans, and in the end, that's how I ended up in UK. Now there's a story to that. So let me tell you this part, and you
Absolutely. I would love to hear all of it.
Okay. So when I lived in Winchester, and keep in mind, in Winchester, I was at the age of I left there at the age of 6, and so my dad worked for this company called Pound Tire Company in Winchester, and of course back then in 1950, of course Bear Bryant was the head football coach at UK, and they actually they tied, I think in the Orange Bowl, or someone in the Orange Bowl anyway, in 1950, UK shared, so they say, the national title. So, and Bear Bryant was the coach there for 5 years. So in 1950, they had a really good team. So So UK football was big back then, and Barry Brown was the coach. Keep in mind. So yes, I mean, and people around Winchester were of course, big UK fans. So Taylor Pound, who my dad worked for, a Pound Tire Company, he would UK games on Saturdays, and my dad was a former athlete, played at Lincoln Institute. So my dad told Taylor Pound one Saturday when and he would leave my dad in charge when he would leave and go to a UK game. So he told my dad once, my dad told him one Saturday back in 1950, he said, one of these days, I'm gonna be going to those games. But keep in mind, I mean, everything was totally segregated. Yeah. So anyway, that's and little did I know this, my dad told me this story later on in my life. So when I was getting ready, my dad and my parents and my mother too, she was involved, told me that it was my decision to decide what school I wanted to go to. And of course, again, had a good friend who was at Michigan State, and Sherman Lewis, who was probably 6 or 7 years before me, was a star running back at Michigan State. So we had a pipeline from Louisville to Michigan State. So Michigan State was my first choice. Now, when I got ready to make my decision, mind you, I told my dad I was going to Michigan State, and that's when he erupted. He said, "No, you're going to UK." So he said it was my decision, but it ended up being his decision. So that's how. But it all started back in the early 50s. Is when my dad, again, being from Winchester, see, we didn't know anything about Louisville, Kentucky. We country in the foothills of Eastern Kentucky, in Winchester, Kentucky, and all we knew was UK, and that's all they knew. So so anyway, that's pretty much how I ended up in UK, and I have no regrets about my decision or my choice. So that's how I ended up in UK.
That's really interesting. What was your first day, or what was your first experience visiting UK? Did you visit the campus before you committed, or I know it's that it is today, where everyone's traveling to every school,
Right. Yeah. I did visit UK on several occasions. Back then there weren't no limits, so I went there on more than one occasion, and it was really interesting. The visits. One of my teammates, or the other my other African American teammates, Houston Hall and Al Johnson, who ended up, we all ended up as being freshmen. We never saw each other during the recruiting process. And the only other African American that was on the campus, there were two, Greg Page and Nate Norlington. So they had already signed the year before. So, but they put me with Greg Page. I never saw Nate in the recruiting process. So during the recruiting process, the guy that showed me around campus, or showed me around Lexington, or showed me around town was Greg Page. And Greg was very strongly in favor of me coming, and his thing was, we needed more African Americans to make this thing work, because keep in mind, this is 1966, 1967, and segregation was strong. As a matter of fact, I participated in a lot of the marches in Louisville. I marched with Martin Luther King. I was very, very aware and conscious of the social injustices placed around, especially in my city, Louisville, and at the University of Kentucky. I mean, it was like it was segregation was strong. I'll just put it to you like that. And of course, the SEC was all white. So Greg just was very, very, very strong about the numbers and coming to the UK and helping change things. And I never thought about going to UK until that strong pitch from Greg, and also my parents started to chime in, and basically not knowing that the implications that integrating the SEC and UK, I never thought about integrating. I just thought about, okay, I got a chance to come to college and play football and get an education. So, it was just, I want to go somewhere and play football. And Greg convinced me, and as did my parents, the UK was the place to go to make a change in what was happening in our society. And that's pretty much what sold me, Greg, plus the strong support that I got from my parents was the reason that I ended up at UK and not any of the other schools that I had thought about.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
What was your experience like on the team? I know you were pretty much a standout from the start, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm very fortunate. I had a very good high school. I'm very fortunate to be named Parade Magazine All-American, All-State, All-Southern. So I had a good resume. My resume, I was pretty, I'm not bragging, but I was a pretty good old football player, and certainly was a sought after. So, I going to UK, I just, my thing was focusing on just making it. At first I was football, I was gun ho, but then when I started to realize, and because I was very conscious of racism, and back then in the 60s, they were still hanging in the South, happened all the time, and but my team. Football just brings people together. You know the deal. I mean, people come together from all parts of the country, all walks of life, and there were a lot of. For the most part, it was they're going to UK. There were players. I mean, the players welcomed us, and Nate and Greg had been there the year before. But there were some players who had never played with African American on the team with African Americans before. And there were teams, I would say that there were some of my teammates who didn't buy into integration. And so I had to whoop them into I had to get them. It was challenging. I'll put it to you like that. And I knew those guys. I know there were guys that weren't really ready for integrating, but a lot of them. But for the most part, I was, it was a good experience. There were times when we had our clashes and internally, and but for the most part, it worked out because, see, the thing that really I think changed things is the fact that Greg Page, who again, Greg and Nate were the first two African Americans to sign in '66, and after Greg's death. It was very traumatic for not only me, and because we were so close, and Houston, but the whole team. And so I think things started to kind of change a little bit after Greg's death. But the thing that was most traumatic was adjusting the fact that we lost a teammate from an injury that he suffered in practice. So, it started off getting used to integrating a team, and then now we have to deal with the death of a teammate who we all love, and who was a big part of the move, the transition of integrating the whole with one of the first African Americans to play, and all of a sudden he passed, and we got a lot of pressure from a lot of my friends, and family members were wondering, what happened to Greg. So there were so many things that clouded the playing football at UK, but Greg's death probably was the biggest thing. And today, if something like that happens with young players or with the team, then you have counseling, and we have all kind of support. But back then, it was almost like they didn't know what to do. The coaches didn't know what to do. The team, we as players didn't know what to do. Here, we went to Greg's funeral, and in that casket was our teammate Greg Page. So it was really tough, and I don't think we really got over that. And there are other things that happened on the team. We had another football player, Cecil New, who was a freshman with me, who broke his neck, paralyzed from the neck down, and other players were injured. Stan Forson was a quarterback who had a concussion, and he quit. He had to leave the team. But we had so many things going on, and the main at some point it stopped being football. It started being survival. It started being, how am I going to make it through this next day? It was almost like, how am I going to make it from day to day? So football became secondary, and making it and surviving, and all the things going on around us started to be the most important thing, is making it from day to day. And that's what we had to deal with. So the social issues, the Vietnam War, the racism, the injustices going on, people, black folks being hung. We had to deal with that every day. Going to the South, when I started traveling, going to the South and dealing with the racist crowd who looked like they were lynch mobs. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we had to deal with every day. Going and going to a restaurant and they saying, we can't serve you because you're black. I mean, that's what we dealt with every day and even on the road. So there were so many things that we had to deal with, but we survived it and we dealt with it because we had the support from our families and we had the support from a team and we had support from the athletic, the commitment and support from the athletic community at UK. So, you know, it wasn't easy. But it was an experience. It was life changing, but it was a lesson in life because the reality of you look at what's happening today, we're dealing with some of the same things today that we had to deal with back then, and that's trying to make it in a socially unjust world with a systemic racism. We have to deal with it back then, and we're still dealing with it today. So basically, it was the same thing. So you just look, and that's the same thing that we had to deal with back then. But it was well worth it. It was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And I think anyone, and I appreciate that, I think anyone who's ever played on a team understands how important it is to have people who have your back, whether it's in sports or, you know, in life in general. And like you had said, that you have a team around you, and it makes things easier.
Well, no doubt, and my teammates. I mean, without, that's the whole idea, team. You know, that's how we made it, and support that we got. Even though there were some dissenters, some guys that didn't buy in, but for the most part, I mean, the fact is, in 1969, I became the first African American captain of any sport in the Southeastern Conference. My teammates elected me captain. So it was that support that we had. I mean, without that support, and of course, support that we had from my, I got married when I was in college. I met my wife Brenda there, but the support that I had from my wife and my family, my parents, and my whole our family, and then my teammates' family, Houston and Nate, and well, Nate left, but the support that we had, we couldn't have made it without that support because there were many times in Houston I had our bags packed and ready to go, and but through the support of our team and our parents and our family, we decided that we got to stick this thing out. And of course, you look at the SEC today and the fruits of our labor, the fact that we made it through it, you can see what's happening in the conference today and all over the country, but especially in the SEC, dominated by African American players, and it, everything that we went through was well worth it. But the change, it was tough, but had to happen, and I'm glad it did.
So once you left UK, what was next on your journey?
After I left UK, well, of course, I said, I got married, and in college, I got married in my junior year, and so raising my family. When I left UK, and as a matter of fact, this is another story. My wife graduated from nursing school, and we had our son Keith. We moved to Louisville, and I started to work different jobs. So one of my jobs, I worked for the city of Louisville for about 10, 11 years. And I became really active, though, through my employment. I worked for Louisville Jefferson County Criminal Justice Commission when I first got out of school. And I became very active in the community. We started youth programs. I worked with youth employment during the summer months. I had the good fortune of starting a baseball league, and that in 1990, and that league is still going on today. But I was very active with developing and working in the community and with developing programs and working with youth. So my experience at UK allowed me to do that. And so after leaving the city of Louisville, I worked for them for about 12 years. I went to Toyota Motor Manufacturing, and I'm pretty much retired from there after 28 years. But also, in between, I started officiating. So I became a football official in high school, and and then I went to Conference USA, or Mid South, then Conference USA, and now I'm in the replay booth with the Southeastern Conference. So I made a full circle.
Yeah, I was gonna say it came full circle there.
Came full circle, and now I'm very fortunate to be able to be a communicator in the Southeastern Conference, which I've been for the last since 1998. So that's pretty much been my life, my family. Of course, I have married to my wife Brenda for 52 years, and I have two sons, Keith and Trey. Keith played football at Ball State University. Trey played at Western Kentucky University, and both of them went to college on football scholarships. I have 7 grandchildren and 1 great grandson, and they all spoiled rotten, and I love it. And that's my life, and that's my life now, along with the football and my family, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of a lot of good things through my life.
That's incredible. So recently, if I'm not mistaken, you might have gone back to the UK.
Yeah, that's I guess I meant to say that. Yeah, I left UK in 1972, I think, 71, 72, and I didn't graduate. I had to start my life, and well, just recently, let's see, about 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been 2 years. I'm very fortunate to have continual ties to UK. I'm on the University Board of Trustees Athletic Committee, and one day I was talking to Dr. Capilouto, the president. I told Dr. Capilouto, we have a statue, and I didn't want to. We have a statue of the my good friend and teammate Paul Kerman, and our teammates signed a petition to erect a statue of the 4 African Americans: myself, Houston Hall, Greg Page, and Nate Northington. And I was telling Dr. Capilouto in a meeting one day, I said, Dr. Capilouto, none of the 4 of the men on the statue graduated from the UK. And I told him after 50 years, I wanted to go back and I want to get my degree from UK. And I had opportunities. I had gone to other schools and started to finish my degree, and I quit. And so Dr. Capilouto said, well, let's make a phone call and we'll get you in touch. And so with the administration, registered. And so I did that. And after 2 years, this past May, I finished my degree, and I got my undergrad degree from UK after 50 years. And that's what I tell everybody. I said, it only took me 53 years, but at least I finished it. But it's something I felt like I needed to do. And a lot of times I talk to young people, and I think it's important to finish what you started. You don't quit, you don't give up. And it's very important that you get when I'm talking to my grandkids and I'm talking to my children about education and about life, then I wanted to be able to tell them, I do have my college degree, and it was very important that I finished because I wanted to complete that story. So through the assistance from and the beauty of it all is Mitch Barnhart, the athletic director, called me and said, we'll pay for your education. So I had that done. They did it, and in May I got my degree, which I'm very proud of and thankful and very appreciative to the university for the support that I've gotten from my family, the support I've got to finish my degree. So something big for me.
Well, congratulations again. That it really is full circle when you think about it after so many years and being able to walk across that stage and be a graduate from Kentucky. So
yeah, I'm very, very proud and very thankful. It's something that I really wanted to do, and I'm just thankful to be able to do it, to have been able to do
it. My last question is just anything you would like to say to the future players, those coming down the road.
I am so proud of these young players and especially the young African American athletes for stepping up and stepping out, for using their voice and the platform that they have as athletes. They didn't realize how strong a voice they had, and what an influence they could be on what's happening in today's society. I can remember some things that I did as a football player that normal students weren't able to do. I mean, just speaking up and speaking out. So I'm so proud of these young athletes for using their platform today to make change. And when they take a stand, and even though it's not popular, just like the University of Kentucky football team stepping out there and marching with Black Lives Matter, the basketball team taking a knee, even though it's very controversial, but they're making a statement. And so proud of the athletes all over the world, all over this country, especially on professional level. Colin Kaepernick was before his time, and they didn't acknowledge. He was trying to make a statement, and it didn't resonate until now, until all these other things started happening. So I'm so proud of these young Black athletes for using not only excelling on the field, but also using their voice to make a change and make a difference. It happened in Missouri in 2015. The football team boycotted, and they changed things that happened at the University of Missouri. They fired the president, the athletic director, because of the racism that was going on the campus. And it's starting to happen all over this country. So what's happening in this society, it's unfortunate that we have to deal with those issues, but that's life. And so I'm so proud of these young men, and I'm encouraging them to continue to use their voice and their platform to make a change and make a difference, and to do things that are going to make a difference in how we all live. And it's unifying this country. And I think you haven't seen the end of it. I think it's just begun. And I think they're realizing the value of the power that they have. And I think it's going to be utilized in a very positive way to make changes in this, needed changes in what's happening in our country and in this world. So I'm proud of them. And I say to them, keep up the good work and don't back down.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That was another fun episode of Into the Unknown. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if it provides you any value or entertainment, I would love if you shared it with others, liked, subscribed, and really just help the podcast grow. Again, tell a friend, tell a foe, just anyone who might enjoy hearing some stories of people's own journeys and what got them to where they are today. Till next time.